But the soft skills, it's like, okay, if you can teach time management skills, but the soft skills come in is, do they use it? Do they know with whom, when, how to use these skills that you've taught them? Which is why everyone complains autistics, we can measure and that they've learned these things, but they don't generalize it. They don't use it because no one taught them the soft skills of why should they do it? When is a good time to do it? When is not a good time? With whom should you do it? With whom should you not use this skill? So they don't understand what to do with the skills that they've learned. That's the soft skill part.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Staci Neustadt. I am a speech language pathologist and the CEO at Making Sense of Autism, and I'm a student of Susan.
And I'm Susan Golubock. I am a now retired occupational therapist who has worked many, many years after I discovered even my own autism with other autistic individuals. I founded Making Sense of Autism because of my passion to not only understand my brain and how it worked differently, but to try to explain what I've learned to other people so that they're more understanding and therefore more accepting and more accommodating to autistic individuals.
So our goal is to help you provide the right support without trying to fix autism, but by understanding it. So whether you're a parent, teacher, therapist, or just someone who wants to learn, you're in the right place. Be sure to subscribe and join us every week. We talk about a new topic. Do a topic that came on not so long ago about some of the support tools that we provide as really supporting soft skills. And as I thought about it more as a speech therapist, I feel like we try to teach soft skills in a hard way, and it doesn't work. So let me talk a little bit more about hard skills. So technically, the definition of hard skills are like specific, teachable abilities or knowledge sets that are often easy to quantify, like math, coding, writing, reading, typing, very concrete kind of teaching skills. And then soft skills are more personal attributes or social abilities that influence how someone works or interacts with others. You know, communication, teamwork, time management, problem solving, leadership. And again, I feel like as therapists, we think we can teach these in a hard way. So I have two questions for you. So again, this is how neurotypicals or non-autistics view soft skills. So my first question is, do you have the same definition of hard skills and soft skills? And then my second question is, do you feel that our definition is limited or biased in some way? So what's your definition?
Okay, I would probably define it the same thing that
Okay.
you said. The soft skills, okay, hard skills are knowledge, facts, concrete things that can be measured. But the soft skills, it's like, okay, if you can teach time management skills, but the soft skills come in is, do they use it? Do they know with whom, when, how to use these skills that you've taught them? Which is why everyone complains autistics, we can measure and that they've learned these things, but they don't generalize it. They don't use it because no one taught them the soft skills of why should they do it? When is a good time to do it? When is not a good time? With whom should you do it? With whom should you not use this skill? So they don't understand what to do with the skills that they've learned. That's the soft skill part.
Yes.
How do you put together and use what you've learned, the knowledge that you have, um, other than rotely under the circumstances in which you were taught? Then you can regurgitate it, but what good is that knowledge? Look at all the knowledge that we've picked up in school, that history, dates, and places and people. But what good is that concrete knowledge if you can't put it in context and compare it with today's political scene and back then the political scene and how the two are similar or different? All of that are soft skills.
Mm-hmm. And I see that so much where I'll hear therapists, well, they can tell me what to do or they know what to do, but they don't apply it. And it's exactly what you said. And that is what you've taught me is they have to know who, what, when, why, and where and how, and all these other pieces that we don't get that detailed because we don't think of it that way.
Yeah. And yet that's the soft skill, especially with social.
Yes.
You have to be constantly adapting. And yet we're not teaching autistics how to problem solve and adapt. Problem solving is a soft skill. Mm-hmm. It's not something you can really teach.
Yeah.
Yes, you can give them tools to help them learn how to problem solve, like the forms that I've created where you look at, identify what the problem is. Now, what are some possible solutions to it? How do you judge the consequences of those choices to make the best choice? Those are tools that help you learn how to problem solve.
Mm-hmm.
But unless you start applying it and knowing when to recognize that there's a problem in the first place that needs to be solved, those are all soft skills. So those are observational things. Those are things that come from experience, interactions with others. Those are the things that typical people do through their social interactions. They learn all these little tidbits, these soft things that they pick up on and later use. But autistics don't pick up on. That doesn't mean they can't learn it.
Right.
They're going to learn it differently because they're not going to intuitively recognize, oh, this piece of knowledge and this piece of knowledge, I could use it to this creative way.
Mm-hmm.
They're not necessarily, because number one, that's not how they're taught.
Yeah.
The current taught is very rotely learned. You do it this way, you do it X number of times, and you've got to do it exactly the same way, or I can't check off that I know you know it exactly.
Mm-hmm.
We're not taught flexibly, so we're not flexible. So we don't think flexibly, but those things can be taught, but not in the same manner.
Yeah. The worst thing, and this is how I used to work on problem solving because I never knew really, no one taught me how to work on it, is we would give problems. We would give problems, and usually they were, social scenarios, and usually they were neurotypical social scenarios. And it was, this happened to Bobby in this environment, how is he going to solve this problem? And unless an individual gave, a common solution response, or sometimes I see it worded as we'll give at least two solutions or something like that. And so that whole idea of how we teach problem solving has to be completely revamped because I would always question myself, like, why am I working on it this way? Like, this is so stupid that I'm giving a scenario that doesn't even apply to this individual.
Right.
I felt like I was just kind of going with it because I saw that's what other people were doing, but I always was like, this can't be right. What am I really teaching this student? But now that I use our problem solving sequence, I love it because not only can I mean, I use it with my littles, my 2-year and 3-year-olds. Uh-oh, we have a problem. And it's wonderful. And it teaches the parents to kind of use that verbiage. And then I use it with my older students who, yes, identifying that it is a problem is sometimes difficult because sometimes they're just used to their parents solving these things for them. And they literally get stuck. So I love this process of teaching this soft skill.
See, and this is how you're teaching it differently. You're not sitting down and taking an abstract problem from out of the air that is totally unrelated to them. You relate it. In other words, you identify when it happens. And of course, in my sessions, I made problems happen.
Yeah.
I deliberately made problems happen, but it's within context
Yeah.
that you're teaching them, not in abstraction, unrelated to whatever is happening in their lives, so that they relate problem solving to their life. So they're going to generalize it because this is how they've learned it, is in context, in real life, not in an abstract manner that all other concrete things are taught. I mean, a teacher teaches history, but children don't live that history, or they don't. I mean, if it were taught in perspective of, okay, a month ago, this is what we did. Now, that's history.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to do something similar. Let's look at how is it different? How is it the same? Now you're teaching in context, so it's meaningful and relevant. That's how you teach soft skills.
Yeah.
Don't teach it in the concrete terms that even educators are teaching math and history, and those are all abstract things that you memorize to pass the test and then promptly forget because it's irrelevant.
Oh, that was me in school, 100%. If I could remember it, absolutely. And I feel I use this even with my own kids. And I find that especially when it comes to if there's some dysregulation, if I co-regulate and then let's figure out how we can solve this problem. And even just kind of talking it through, which don't get me wrong, like today's day and age, we're moving, we got a million things to do, and I am so guilty of just solving it for them sometimes. But when I am on, the other 80% of the time or ish, I stop myself, I co-regulate, and we figure out how are we going to solve this problem together. And usually my daughter does not like my solution. So I'm like, okay, what do you think? And she comes up and every once in a while she loops back to my solution, but it connects us as well. And I see that it's building these soft skills at even a young age. So do you feel like this is where I want to make sure we talk about making sure to shift that view, though, because in talking about teamwork, communication, flexibility, do you feel like there's any biases that we need to be aware of if we are teaching these soft skills?
There's always subconscious biases that can get in our way of doing it because the bias may be, I'm the authority figure, you're the child. And that's a subconscious bias, that role play. Yeah. My role is I give advice and you listen and you do it. So it may not feel comfortable doing this because I'm the parent, but that doesn't mean you still can't collaborate with your child. You still can't put it on a sharing basis. That sharing is this kind of thing, whereas authority is this kind of thing. It's not coming together, but you can share and still that doesn't demote you as far as your authority is concerned. You can always pull rank and say, okay, you've crossed the border now. No, you're trying to assume my role. I have the authority. I have the final say. So I'm not going to allow you choices that I, as an adult, say are not safe,
Mhm.
think they're okay. But I, as an adult, know. So I can still pull the authority card in terms of which choices I'm going to allow you to make, because you may choose one that I think is going to, I know the consequences and you don't.
Yeah.
And a pull rank. So, but that doesn't mean that you're giving up authority by sharing.
Yeah. And that's definitely an important thing to keep in mind when working on any of these skills, because it does impact impact the outcome if we let those biases sneak in. And you mentioned might feel uncomfortable, and I can't remember the exact quote I heard recently, but when you feel uncomfortable, that's growth, because our bodies have a natural reaction to some
Mm-hmm.
of these things like
Mm-hmm.
change or how we used to do things. So if you're feeling
Yeah,
kind of that uncomfortable feeling with the shift, it is growth, and kind of sit in it and look at, okay, maybe why am I feeling this way? How was I treated as a kid that maybe is
right.
coming up right now? Um, all good stuff. So wonderful. Well, I will drop the link for our problem solving tool below. It is definitely by far one of my favorite. I really, half the time I start with the tool, but then I don't even need it anymore because I know the process. My clients know the process. It's just making sure to get started. So awesome. Thank you, Sue.
Thank you for asking, Stacy.